Vienna. And I instigated Vienna. Yep. I walked in and said, it's time we're right to do a ballad. Let's do a ballad. And instead of everybody going, you know, yep, we'll do a ballad, because we've got 3, 4 mid-tempo tracks under our belt. We messed with the electronic thing. And it's like this, it's in this key. We'll do this sparse verse as similar to, you know, not just Warren and Chris knew what I was talking about, so did Midge. I mean, he liked Ultravox, you know, he knew Systems of Romance. So we've got this sparse beginning, and it was dead funny because the guy from CBS was there as well. But we were so impatient and really like go for it types, you know, it's like aspiring, you know, we want it now, that we just weren't even interested, you know. It's like, because he said to us, we can, I like what you do, but let's just see how you develop over the next 6 months. This is what I'm saying, this is what I'm trying to say. And our attitude was like, we might not be together next week, pal. You know, it was, you know, things have to happen now. And so, you know, that was great. It was the way we got Vienna together. It was just like fresh, and it was the right time to do it, you know.
Because the album had the same name, yeah?
Pardon?
The album had the same, it was called Vienna as well.
Yeah.
Why was that? Why did you call the album Vienna?
I don't know, actually.
So I heard it was going to be called like...
I think it was Chris Wright who demanded that it should be called Vienna. We had some titles when we came back and finished the album, and we were just arguing about it all the time. And we met at the McDonald's on opposite Centre Point, I remember this, and we were still arguing, you know. We really did actually have the ump with each other after that album, because we did it out in Germany, and we had quite a bit of disagreements. It was all very intense, and we'd got all these titles. And I ended up winning. I came up with this title. There's a few album copies of these, and it's embarrassing that I even thought of this name. You know, I won't even tell you. And when Chris Wright saw it, he said, "No, I want Vienna." And we thought, yeah, we just needed someone else to tell us, I think. But we just yeah, thanks. We just you need someone else sometime, you know. And Chris Morrison and Chris O'Donnell, who manages Van Morrison now. They kept out of it. This is the kind of people we were, you know. But also it's like Vienna was, why should we call it Vienna? It just didn't seem anything to us, that track, you know, to start banging on about that. It was, again, we were still working on a spectrum with Ultravox, where we did this, rock tracks, electronic tracks, and that happened to be a sort of a ballady thing, which was a bit weird, you know. And so it wasn't like it was a major thing for us. That it was a big surprise that it was a hit, you know.
Yeah, I'll come back to
that.
But, I mean, tell us a little bit about Sleepwalk, which was the first kind of single you released off.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the first ones we wrote when we got together. That's actually, I think that is the very first one we wrote. And I mean, you can see the influences straight away. It was just very, very easy. Less hassle as possible. We didn't get too intense, it was deliberately. I mean, it's anthemic, the chorus, care of my bit. And it had the chugging thing, which had become identifiable, or was about to, but we hadn't done much of that, you know, the triggered mini moog. But I think it was also quite humorous, because we were feeling more like that, you know. Don't let's be too serious here, poor-faced about it, although we were. No, and so we put the chubby checker rock and roll drums in thing, which we'd actually used once before on a track called Rock Rock in 1977, which was a single. And so it was done very quickly, and the vocals, Midge he just seemed to bang them out. So it was, I think it was, the key was to not labour over it too much, which Midge influenced it like that. He didn't want to get too deep sometimes, Midge, and I think that was actually quite a positive thing at that time, you know.
So just elaborate a little bit more about how, when you're talking about the singles, or even the whole album again, how did the writing process, you know, evolve within the Ultravox, the new Ultravox?
The new Ultravox, well, me and Midge had hand writing together when we were doing Visage. It was we had to make sure that the lines didn't get too blurred. They did do a bit the following year, because we had to do 2 albums in 1 year, with belated quite big success of the 2 projects, you know. Because I remember Midge saying, "Oh well, I'll be famous as a lead singer with Ultravox, or I might be just the man at the back in Visage, you know. But they both took off. But basically, it was a case of I realised that I could work with Midge, and we worked pretty much at the same speed, you know, quite fast. And Warren and Chris were just clued in, you know. Me and Warren and Chris had worked together for so long together. And but I mean, you know, at times like this, 10 years down the line, 10 years, yeah, you've got to say again. I mean, I had a lot to do with the writing of the musical side of stuff. You know, I didn't take any care of the lyrics at all, and Midge had a partner in crime on that one. That was Chris. He was quite good at coming up with images and things that appealed to Midge, so he helped out in that one. And quite often Warren used to just concentrate on his drums, and we were happy about that.